My guest today grew up as a highly sensitive child in a household shaped by illness, uncertainty, and caregiving, experiences that left her both deeply compassionate and quietly terrified of becoming a mother herself. After surviving one traumatic birth and postpartum experience, she eventually found healing through a completely different second birth that transformed not only her motherhood journey, but also her life's work. Today, she helps hopeful, pregnant, and new parents connect more deeply with their babies through intuition, emotional support, and what she calls spirit baby communication. I'm pregnancy focused chiropractor Dr. Elliot Berlin, and you're listening to the Informed Pregnancy Podcast. Kelly Meehan, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm excited. I was just even saying this. There's not very many people like you. You're very unique and your approach is very interesting. And I think more than ever, very necessary. Before we get into the meat of what that means, let's go back to the beginning. Can you start by telling us where you grew up and what your childhood was like?
I could do that in 20,000 hours now.
That's a lot
So
of
quick
commercial
clip,
breaks.
I know, right? A lot of quick clip back in New Jersey, central New Jersey, grew up with actually my father came from Italy, which is interesting, but they're Jersey people. And I always wondered about that, connecting with my family, like I'm being born into this family. And you talked about my sensitivity. Yeah, so sensitivity. I was a quiet, shy child mostly. I think I was observing a lot of the world. And when I became a teenager, I started to discover that I had extrasensory perceptions. I actually feel like it was puberty that opened that window for me. And my parents were very self-involved because that's how they were. So I was able to explore what that meant to feel and sense the world so differently.
Your mom was sick.
My mom was always sick. She had mental illness and multiple physical issues, and especially the last 20 years of her life, I took care of her in many different ways, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and it did really, bring a deeper level of healing and resentment and love and anger,
Yeah,
all
I mean,
those
all those make
things.
sense.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
potpourri of feelings. But it turned you sort of into a caregiver, whether you really
I,
wanted to be or not.
I was definitely a caregiver most of all my life and even caring for my brothers the best I could. And yeah, that was the journey for sure.
Now, is that where you started to have hesitation about motherhood for yourself?
I think that what happens is like, I remember friends, coming into the 20s, like everybody wants to have children, they're ready to become a mother. And I always felt opposite. I actually never wanted children. I never thought I would have children. And I didn't realize till later there was so much fear because I had to care for my mom. She needed so much for me that she really was taking up that space a lot. Plus, I was sick in my 20s. And I thought, maybe motherhood's not here.
What did you picture the future looking like if not family?
I didn't really. I didn't go that far ahead. I was literally living moment to moment of like, what is my, yeah. And I actually went back to school and studied clinical psychology with somatic psychology. And after that, I learned a bit of pre-perinatal psychology. And I think that's where I realized that I had a lot of my own traumas, actually. They were suppressed deep, we'll say. They were deep in here and they started to kind of move out of me throughout the years. And then I came to a place where I was like, you know what? Maybe I could be a mom, actually. I was 35.
Wow.
I thought maybe 34. I was thinking 34. I was like, maybe. And then I was so scared, though. I think I had pregnancy phobia, but I didn't know it.
Of
And
the pregnancy itself or of becoming a
the
mother?
idea of birthing was really viscerally and intensified inside me. And I also had a pelvic floor injury as a child. And I think that played a big role into the medical piece of it and just becoming a mom in general. I'm looking at my mom, watching her deteriorate and watching how my family like wasn't very helpful and how my brothers became estranged. And I'm going, is this motherhood? Like,
Oh, wow.
wow, like it was
Yeah.
is a lot to witness.
You said you went back to school for psychology. When was that and what were you doing before that?
Well, before that, I was doing a lot of different things. And when I went back to school, it's interesting. I worked a lot in customer service, which I almost feel like is caretaking. I was always destined for caretaking. And when I went back to school, I was 30 and I still wasn't sure what I wanted to do, to be honest. But I actually worked in attachment parenting as my practicum and intern. And I worked as an infant development therapist before I moved deeper into this work.
So you're working with other families having
Yeah.
babies?
Well, no, I'm working in infant development therapy, babies and toddlers that had issues, special needs, sometimes behavioral issues, and going into homes, going literally from Bel Air mansions to South Central, like really in the homes, really working with the parents to just connect with their baby, play with their baby in different ways that could be facilitating. But I brought in a little bit of that birth psychology piece, to be honest.
I mean, it's interesting because it sounds like up until 30, motherhood was a phobia for you, or birth was a phobia for you. You didn't really picture that being your future. And then somehow, over the 5 year period of going through the training and starting to work with families, kind of a switch went on where you're like, wait, maybe this is a path for me. Do you know what changed?
I think I got healthy and I didn't feel so trapped by my body and being unwell for so long. And then honestly, I had a moment where I felt like, I had a husband I loved. We were together for a long time and we were experiencing really fun things in life. And I thought, hey, maybe we should have a child. Like, am I being a disservice to humanity and to my heart that maybe a child wants to be born to us? I actually felt like my fear was very selfish. And I thought, let me be open.
How old were you when you got together?
18.
Oh, wow, really young.
Yeah.
Okay. And at that earlier part of the relationship, he was cool with the
Yeah.
no kids approach.
He was. He's a good dude. He
And when
thought
you
about it. He
changed,
wanted a
he
bunch of
also,
kids initially,
oh,
but
he
then
did. He wanted you
he,
more.
yeah, there you go. I like that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, after a 180 of not wanting kids and then both of you being on board for children, it sounds like you're ready. It also sounds like, there could be challenges. It seems to me like the phobias don't just go away overnight. Let's take a little break and when we come back, we'll find out what pregnancy and childbirth was like for you. Welcome back. We're talking to Kelly Meehan. So you have this shift and you're open to motherhood. You're more comfortable with your body and not feeling trapped by your body. What was that first pregnancy like for you?
Oh boy, ready? Everybody get your popcorn out. No, it's a good story, right? We all have a story. It was actually very traumatic and it wasn't positive. It was very life-altering, changing. I literally felt like my life got so restructured and shattered in a way where it was like the beauty of life, but the trauma that I felt that was kind of, showed up was like, what am I doing? Like, is this really happening? Like, it felt very surreal. But I found pregnancy to be super challenging. I also didn't have a very good community. I didn't have parents that were there and people that nobody really showed up. And I had all trimester nausea, which was so difficult
All trimester, all 3 trimesters
the whole time.
with vomiting or just
Not vomiting, just I couldn't
super
feel
nauseous?
not nauseous. And I
Oh,
swear this kid lived on like lentils and like crackers. Like I'm like, is this kid gonna be okay? But I think it was more emotional, to be honest, because of the support and the way I was cared for. And I felt like I didn't know how to find my internal instructions to be pregnant. I just was lost.
was the baby healthy?
Yeah, he was fine.
Was that comforting for you?
It wasn't because I was very self-absorbed in just the hardness of it. I was like, what is happening? My body was changing. I felt like out of my body in a sense. I didn't feel into it. And I think I just felt too much, to be honest, like probably a little way too much. And which can be hard for sensitivity is like it's a little extreme. People talk about heightened intuition. I was like, I didn't get heightened intuition. It was already there. It just felt like, yeah, I knew he was healthy because I felt he was healthy. I don't do a lot of interventions. I had midwives and I trusted. There wasn't a lot of dabbling or a lot of looking around. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I was just more of listening to my body and connecting with him.
not the watch pot. What was your plan for birth?
I really wanted a home birth and I had really great midwives, a team come in. But then, things shifted in directions where midwives don't always make the best decisions. But in that time, it worked, I guess, because I got transferred to a hospital that wasn't very kind to me.
Transferred in the middle of the birth?
Yes, in the middle of the birth.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. For what?
At the time, the assumption was possibly, now I forgot what it's called, where they think the placenta and the baby are coming out together. What's that word again?
Uh, the
Not
cord prolapse?
No, no, no. Now I'm just forgetting it right now because it wasn't. So there was just a miscommunication and interpretation because I had too much blood before and that made everybody nervous. And I had the water tub and, I have low blood platelets. So I'm a bleeder. Apparently, I'm a
Hmm.
bleeder after. That's the thing I've
Thrombocytopenia?
discovered. I think it's a common thing that happens, but it wasn't that. So I get transferred, and they're literally trying to prep me for cesarean birth, by the way. And I'm going to try to shorten the story a little.
The midwives or
Um,
the medical team
no,
when you get
the
to
the
the
medical
hospital?
people, and I
Oh,
said I'm allergic to anesthesia, blah blah blah, whatever it went. It didn't need to happen, so the baby was there. One doctor came in and said, "Well, the baby's right there. Let's get her up to deliver baby." He's born. I'm just second degree vaginal tearing. I'm not feeling super happy. I'm signing myself out of the hospital after a few hours. I cannot be there. That was taken very interestingly. And then the healing began more deeper at home. And I did go into postpartum depression for sure.
what did that feel like to you?
I felt like I wanted to die. And I knew
Oh
that wasn't
my.
normal. I knew
How
that. And
soon
I was
after you
like,
got home?
if I can recall it, probably, I don't know, actually. That's a good question. Now it's been so long. I remember feeling, I'll never forget this, 2 weeks after I've had my beautiful little being boy, perfect. 2 weeks, I got this very strong feeling of love and connection that now I realize later was supposed to happen when you give birth. Like you see your baby and you feel that connection. I didn't feel very connected to him until 2 weeks in.
Did you feel connected to him during the pregnancy?
I did.
So then there was a loss of connect, like the power went
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Hmm. And I know you mentioned you didn't have much of a village during the
I
pregnancy.
didn't.
Was there any support after the baby arrived?
No, there wasn't. We had a few meal trains and then I just felt like alone. And then husband had to go back to work and it was just me and the baby and friends I talked to on the phone. And I was just really weepy and I just felt like high dysregulation and just getting by every day to just get through the pain. I had a lot of pelvic floor pain and
How did you get over the postpartum depression? How'd you manage your way through it?
that's a good question. I don't even remember. I don't know. A lot of my friends are MFTs at the time. So I'm talking to all my friends, working with my friend who also is an MFT and a healer, and just talking it out. And it was like the hardest moment after of like, I was like, this is what that's like because I knew something was up. I was like sitting in the rocking chair, like, maybe I should die. And I'm like, that doesn't feel like you're supposed to feel that way. And I just took it really slow. Literally, the first year was like rebuilding who I was as a mother now. I was never mother before. And then knowing like, where's that support come? And I'm really fortunate to be able to have space to sit under the oak trees of Topanga at the time where I
Hmm.
was just kind of like learning about each other, growing with each other, and nursing too much. I feel like all that kid wanted was nursing all the time.
Well, Topanga sounds beautiful. Somehow you decided to do it again.
I know, right? So wait a minute. Did I tell you there's a 5.5 year age gap on purpose?
Yeah, so it didn't happen right away.
No, I didn't want it to because I needed to do the work. I couldn't. I
So
was
up
like,
until then, did you think one and done?
yep,
Oh, okay.
absolutely.
But then what changed?
I heard a different energy saying they wanted to be born, and I
Ooh,
tried to ignore it.
hmm, didn't go well.
No, and I felt like, nope, no, this is probably maybe I'll get a puppy or a cat or something. I don't know, right?
Oh, well, how was the second pregnancy?
It was way better because after the first errors in that experience, which I think is pretty common for mothers, right? I decided that I wasn't going to be the same. I needed to do the work and the energy, whatever. I had amazing midwives this time. I had, really schooled them. I wanted to make sure they saw everything possible in a home birth. I cried a lot in my midwife sessions all the time. I just cried. And they said, it's okay, Kelly. You're just clearing it for the birth.
Yeah. Do you know what you were letting go of?
There were a lot of things coming up. I was never cared for by my parents in my own pregnancies. Like I cried about my dad and I had no idea I had that feeling. And I realized that when we're having babies and you have family, it's such a beautiful thing, right? And if you don't have that, you think it's okay, but then you don't have that and you realize, oh, this hurts. This feels. So, yeah, there was a lot of feelings, and I'm sure more pieces in that. But pregnancy was different than the first by far, and that was great.
So, a different team of midwives. Was the plan home birth again?
Yes, absolutely.
How old were you?
41 when I birthed him. So 40.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how did the birth go?
The birth was great, actually. I couldn't believe it. It was like night and day from the birth experience. I couldn't get into that tub, though. I saw it and I'm like, I'm a land birther. I am
Yeah.
not water.
You see that a lot,
So,
though. People set up the whole water option and never
yeah, I
use it.
can't get it. I didn't even go in it, didn't even touch it. I
Or
just
the opposite. People think they're never going to want it. I'm not a bath person, and then they crave it.
Yeah,
You
it's good.
just
It's
don't know.
there as an option. So the most incredible thing in this, and I actually have videos of me, I'm so calm, and I actually appreciated the contractions when I literally felt like I was high. My body was shaking with euphoria in between the contractions. And I was bouncing on that ball, man. I said to my midwife, "Can I birth on this ball?" She's like, "No." I'm like, oh, I would like love, my body loved that movement, you know? And I did do the birthing stool, which I know has a lot of controversy, but I had to like sit with this birth, like let this being come, let's work together. And I had, remember a moment where I'm sitting there, it's dark in the room and I'm so cared for. And I look in the midwives and my friends there, and they're all closing their eyes. And one, I was like, are they meditating or are they sleeping? I really was like, but either way, it felt really good. And my 5.5-year-old son wanted to be at the birth. So they got him at the last minute to come and see everything. And looking at him and pulling up my son was just extraordinary. And I'm not saying orgasmic births don't exist, but they do exist because I had a shocking moment where I was like, what's happening here? This is like private with people. And I guess it pushed or whatever was happening. Before the pushing, though, I felt that feeling in my body. Well, I was
Wow.
not expecting that, like at all. Like, yeah.
That sounds a total opposite from your first birth.
And I was
Um,
scared it was going to be this like, I was like, what if, what if, what if, right? And that was the fear too in the birth. Like, what if it's like the first one, right? But I knew it was different because as soon as I sat down and I was dealing with my other sons, going to school for the first time and then going, I sat there and I went, I'm not hungry, but I can't go to sleep right now. And then all of a sudden, like 30 minutes later, the contraction started. And I knew in that moment it was different. I felt completely different.
I'm so happy for you. What was postpartum like? Second time.
Perfect, fine, no anything because I told myself I called in community. So people came to like clean the house, people came to cook us all kinds of meals, and I wasn't. Well, I had a moment where I was nursing and I was crying and I couldn't nurse him. I was, I was like, I thought you just nurse forever each kid, but who knows? They're so different, right? And she took the baby, took him out, walked outside, and I was like, that's what I need. Somebody to like nurture and love me in that
Mm.
experience. And I got a lot of that. So no postpartum depression, no dark thoughts, nothing. I was like, wow. But I also feel like the birth was so cared for, so different, still super intense. But my husband got to hold him. He was the first contact as we, pulled him up. It was such a beautiful moment to do that. And I wish like that connection for all mothers and fathers and just lifting him up. There's a video of me just like this, like probably praying, being thankful. Like, and it was so beautiful because I had joy on my face. And my 5-year-old at the time said, that looked like a rocket ship shot right out of you. And his face was in disbelief.
Mm.
Like, there's a baby, we talked about it, but like you can see it was like, wait, this is a real person that came out. And later on, he was crying and he said, I don't know why I'm crying, holding his brother. And I said, yeah, there's a lot, feelings happening. And I remember the umbilical cord was so beautiful. It was just this iridescent connection to my body. And yeah, and I definitely encourage people to do video because I watched the video after and I was in shock that
You're
that
blown
was
away
me
by yourself.
because I was making noises. I don't remember doing that.
It's kind of interesting. I sometimes interview people about their birth right after. They have their baby and they'll listen to it 6 months later, and it's like they're hearing their birth story for the first time. They don't remember a lot of the finer details. And it sounds
Do
like
you
the
think
same
that's
is true for you.
safety? Why do you think that is?
I'm not totally sure.
Yeah.
I've had thoughts about this. I think pregnancy brain is real. And I think you could see it on imaging, actually. The brain physically shrinks. And I think part of that is because childbirth is such a big event that it may be too big for the regular consciousness. And you kind of have to go into another level. We had Hilary Duff on the podcast talking about her first home birth, and she just said as it was getting closer and closer and she was progressing more and more, that her brain was just saying, like, I don't know, it's going to be too much. We're not going to be able to handle it. It's going to be too much. It's going to be too much. And then, right before it felt like too much, that part of her brain just shut off. And
Wow.
it wasn't too much. It was perfect. And I think maybe that needs to happen to a degree. And so you're not fully present on the consciousness the way the people around you are. Let's take a little break because when we come back, I teased at the beginning that you're like this very unique provider and caregiver now. And obviously, we see where a lot of that foundation comes from. But I want to get a little bit deeper into the type of work that you do. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Welcome back. We're talking to Kelly Meehan, a very unique individual. I'm just honored to be talking to you. And I want to learn more about the unique type of work that you do. So, how did your experiences that we've just talked about kind of evolve into the work that you do now?
Well, my ongoing joke is that my firstborn broke my second chakra right open and blasted me into this work. I'm serious.
Uh,
Because it was such a physical, emotional, spiritual like reality, a shift of lineage, a change of my consciousness, a change of who I become. So that knowing of spirit baby connections was always there. It just got to the next level.
I frequently, when we started Informed Pregnancy, actually, part of my mission, if we were going to have a tagline, was how to have your second birth experience the first time around. And, I guess for you, it's more relevant than most. Like how nice it would have been for you to be able to do that. But I guess all the experiences you have shape you. Tell me more about Spirit Baby.
Yeah, spirit baby. Spirit baby is not a term I created. It's been around for a long time, but nobody knows the origin. I actually wrote about that in my book. I don't know where the origin is of it, but there's been people that have been talking about it. Even in indigenous cultures, there's one actually over in Australia that talks about the calling of the spirit, the calling of baby. And so I hear spirit baby energies, I hear souls, I hear things that defy science. And this connection that I've made a long time ago. I thought it was all my imagination, to be honest.
So you
But
connect
here's
with
the
them
thing.
before they're
Yeah.
here, before they're
Yes.
even in the womb.
Hmm.
You do fertility work.
Yes. That's actually a lot right now. A lot of infertility and miscarriage has become my accidental expertise, I jokingly say.
And what does it look like when somebody comes to work with you?
There's a lot of connection. Sometimes it's called, I'm calling it just as a joke, spirit baby communication counseling. Because I do some somatic work in spaces, but it's more of me, kind of connecting with the body of the person, what's been their journey. And I'm not actually getting very many details. It really depends on the person. Some people have a long, big story, especially with infertility. And some that come in pregnancy, it's a little different, the pregnancy vibes, because it's more lighthearted to me. It's like just having mother's energy, father's energy, just connecting with their body. And I do certain things like little body kind of meditation energy kind of set for them, and then listen and then really bring connections with their child. And sometimes they know if they're having a boy or a girl, or sometimes they don't know. I use the word baby being if it's a surprise, and I just bring connections like, how do you connect? What does that feel like for you? And because it's their connection, their relationship. And so I get little tidbits of information and insight. And then, as the parent prepares for the next weeks, months, trimesters, and I really promote that their connection with their child and that soul level, that energy level is always changing too. It's never going to be the same. So keep meeting where you are in your energy. And if you're tired, watch your tired energy if you're deficient. And this is your expertise, but I feel like pregnancy is super deficient. And it's hard, like, but baby energy's still there. It's still in communication because it doesn't need that much biology. But again, that form of energy, that consciousness in the field is very different.
We have a film on Informed Pregnancy Plus that is called Prenatal Memory. It's a Japanese film with subtitles, but Dr. Ikagawa was an OBGYN who always felt like the babies were a lot more conscious and present than anybody would give them credit for. And so he originally just started talking both to mom and to baby and just like asking for permission before touching the belly. And he just felt this very strong presence. Then he found out from someone he knows that does transcendental meditation that when you bring people back in regressive therapy, you could bring them back to before they were born. And it just blew his mind. Like everything made sense. And he sort of dedicated a part of his career to finding out how much do babies remember from their time in the womb or before they were even in the womb. And it's a fascinating film. And our viewers that watch it, some of the feedback that we get is that they're really able to bond more closely with the baby and be more present at the birth. And that the birth is a more enjoyable experience because they're doing it together instead of trying to push something out of you. It's a dance that you do together. So it seems to me like the work that you do, the connections that you talk about, and helping people to connect to their baby during the pregnancy have a lot of benefit for both mother and baby.
Yeah, I love that what you're sharing. It's so true because, yeah, let's say even there's a struggle in pregnancy or birth, and I feel like that bonding before life is so incredible because you're recognizing there's this other energy form, this connection with this being is a part of you. And then so you're having that communication in the before and preconception or even in pregnancy. And to me, it's an instinct too. And then you're birthing your baby together here, and then now they're here. And I do feel like it does bring a different bonded connection. And so, even just a moment looking like, I had this traumatic birth, I had to work really hard with the birth field and the energy of healing with my firstborn. Whereas, like my second one, it was completely different because I was doing this work, by the way, already. So it brought a different frequency of who I was forward. And then his birth was just, I mean, yeah, night and day. But also, it's kind of like, I communicate with both children and bringing them wherever they need to, show up in this world with.
Yeah, it's pretty cool that as a clinician, you have both this sort of Western science training background and experience, but then you also have the intuition and more of a holistic approach, and that you're able to combine them together.
Absolutely. I used to hang out when I remember my internship with the psychoanalysts. They wanted to, they were good. They were good. They knew what they were doing, but they wanted to know why I was able to get to certain children that nobody else could. Because I couldn't say, well, I'm just being telepathic and energy sensitive, because that's how children are. And I think I'm just naming what that is. I knew that. And yet, this is there's so much involved in the energy of children. And something I didn't say was, so I'm working in conception, pregnancy, and healing through birth loss, but also I can talk to newborns when they're nonverbal. I can hear them and their energy, and they have conversations. And this is what parents do. This is what mothers and fathers do. They're literally telepathically connected to their energy.
I don't know. I would look in their eyes forever and just be like, what are you thinking? If I could only tell,
Yeah.
I didn't have that gift. Wow, what a powerful story. First of all, you're an excellent storyteller. Thank you. And boy, you've lived a lot. And I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story from childhood through motherhood and the work that you do, again, being so powerful. Kelly, where can we find you online?
Yeah. Thank you again for having me. NewEarthChildren.com.
NewEarthChildren.com. I'm going to go check it out myself, and I recommend everybody else do the same. At home, thanks for listening to the Informed Pregnancy Podcast. If you like our program, be sure to share us with your friends and leave us a 5-star review in your podcast app. For more pregnancy and parenting related media just like this, visit us online at informedpregnancy.com.